the urbanization of downtown Seattle, akin to what we saw in Vancouver. But something that was notably lacking was no subway, no light rail strategy until Sound Transit 3 came along. Massive multi-billion-dollar investment connecting many of our ex-urban locations to the urban cores. And it's interesting because we've talked before that we came close to having a subway system, didn't we, in the early 70s in Seattle?
Oh, yes, we did. It's funny. It's twice, I believe, we've actually had the opportunity to create a entire infrastructure paid for by the federal government. What do? We voted it down. And so, in fact, if you've ever been to Atlanta, you've traveled on MARTA, their mass transit infrastructure they have there, every dollar that paid for that should have been ours. But we said no to it. Atlanta said yes to it. So
I see a similar trend too, because you go to Vancouver, BC in Expo 86, they completed, what's the beginning of the SkyTrain system, which is today still in operation. Do you know that everywhere that their SkyTrain has a station has now been upzoned substantially, like Metrotown and New Westminster and so on and so forth? These are like vertical villages centered around light rail. And it's similar in Europe, isn't it?
Oh, very much so. And that's the thing about Europe. We've been living there in cities a bit longer than you have down here in the US. And we're used to it. And we're used to that density. It's still a bit foreign, certainly further west you come in the United States. Yes, they're used to it in New York, let's say, and Boston, not so much here. But that changed over the course of the last, again, 30, 40 years. And to a little bit more than having the monorail.
Right.
Put it over the World's Fair. Great 90-second trip, but that's literally all it was. So with SD3 and with the infrastructure that has been put in place, is it a positive? Absolutely it is. I mean, however, being an economist, I'd have to say they could have done better. I think the station area overlays were not broad enough. I don't think they were high enough. And again, this goes back to neighborhoods saying, no, we don't want it. So lost opportunity to a degree, but what we have seen built there, it is very good. I think it's only going to continue to grow over the next probably 20 years.
Absolutely. And look at the station at 130th in the Bell-Red corridor. Not as many NIMBYs there because they're obviously more of an industrial environment. But now there's, 6, 8-story apartment, condominium, multiplex developments. And I look at this light rail line like an adrenaline shot into some of these communities. And now, we're within a decade of seeing that in Snohomish County, the city of Everett. I know Everett has been compared to be the Brooklyn of Seattle. If you look at the impact, in part because it's hip and it's affordable, right, and you have a connection, right? I mean, can you speak to where we might also see some real growth of residential demand and prosperity as a result of the Sound Transit 3?
Well, as you mentioned, again, tying in the major employment centers. Again, part of the topography, part of the issue we have here in Western Washington, certainly here in King County, is that we haven't got that much land.
Right.
And so for what we've seen over the course of a long time is we've had nodes set up. So you have Seattle, and then after Seattle, Bellevue, and then to the north, Everett, to the south, Tacoma. Because of that, you can't just have that massive 10 million person metropolis that is, let's say, New York City. So because of that, again, connecting is going to be very important. You mentioned going out the Bell-Red corridor. Absolutely, to Bellevue, ultimately to Microsoft in Redmond. And that is where your adrenaline, the veins, let's, for want of a better word, are going to go. So you mentioned going up to Everett. Yeah, I think we'll see that. Down to Tacoma, absolutely. So it really is going to tie in these major employment centers. Now, as you do that, and again, as you saw up in Vancouver, and as we see, if you think about London, but it's broader because of, let's say, the underground, you can have a web of movement, and you can actually get around efficiently. And that's,
right,
that actually, when we argue or bemoan the fact of a lack of land, well, if you can move people around effectively and quickly, guess what? That can open up more land.
Well, speaking of that, I look at what I refer to as the Upper East Side, Cle Elum, Kittitas County, moving into Grant County, and so forth. I mean, that I-90 connection is super important. People love the 300 days of sunshine. It can be a weekend decision to go there as long as you don't hit a snowstorm or a snarl on I-90 at the pass. So why is this a benefit now? Because of that eastern expansion of the I-90 investment. Again, a billion-plus-dollar infrastructure change that I think will have the unintended effect of making it more accessible to get to Cle Elum, within 90 minutes, or to get to Eastern Washington sunshine destinations.
And you're absolutely right. And certainly Cle Elum is a great example. And we're already seeing it, let's say, in Spokane. And again, that is starting to burgeon, starting to grow. And as it grows, we mentioned these different nodes, it in turn is having its own issues, actually, with affordability. They need to be building more. So again, you do have growing pains. And that, I think, in essence, is what we continue to see here in Western Washington and have seen for quite some time. We are growing. And so because of that, we're not going just the direction of one particular company, let's say Boeing or
Right.
Microsoft. And that, see that growth, see that expenditure, see that investment by the state and by the federal government in our infrastructure. That is going to create additional nodes. And as you see those lines of mass transit, development along them is what you're going to see more and more of.
Well, history will repeat itself, just like a similar billion-dollar investment straightened out the Highway 99, the Ski to Sky Highway north of Vancouver to Whistler
Yes.
for the 2010 Olympic Games. And what do you think happened? You sprinkle in all that global attention on top of a new, improved and safe corridor for transportation. The city of Squamish, which was perfectly centered in between Vancouver and Whistler, has absolutely boomed.
Yep.
And I think similar things could be in store for Cle Elum and some other markets that are burgeoning because of these transportation corridors.
I think you're absolutely right.
What about moving west? I mean, we have these fast ferries now. I mean, Kingston, you can get to downtown Seattle in about 40 minutes on the fast ferry. I think there could be further expansion of that kind of systems into, other markets in Kitsap County, and it's more affordable.
Yeah, and certainly Kitsap County is a great example of it. Passenger-only ferries, certainly coming into Seattle, great. We know, obviously, because of Bremerton, all of a sudden it's not an hour on a ferry, it's half an hour.
Right.
It would be nice if they didn't break down as frequently as they do.
Right.
But ultimately, I'm sure that will at some point get fixed. But yeah, without a doubt, if you go into Kitsap County, and certainly those Kingstons you mentioned, but then Paulsboro, Silverdale, there are a lot of other markets, and certainly Bremerton, historically kind of almost ignored, nothing other than Navy, right?
Right.
That's the consideration.
Not longer.
No, not longer. And they spent a lot of money on the waterfront redevelopment there, a huge amount of money a couple of decades ago. So I think that's one that is prime, it's waiting. Timing hasn't been that good thus far, but ultimately start seeing more of that infrastructure, but interconnectivity between the market here, let's say, and the ability to move around. Yeah, without a doubt, that's going to release, again, more land because we're not going to make any more land.
So what are the next markets to matter? I mean, I love what they're doing at Point Ruston, obviously had its challenges, but I think that final crescendo is going to be extraordinary as a lifestyle destination. You look at relative values compared to the central Puget Sound area or north to, say, Bellingham Bay along the waterfront there. The kind of reinvestment like you saw in the city of Everett's waterfront is now playing out in Bellingham Bay. And these are markets that have all the other infrastructure that you could ever want, especially for retirees that are looking for lifestyle.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Bellingham, again, everyone thinks about Bellingham, got a university, go Vikings, but but up there, Deepwater Bay, which is important business-wise, certainly. Rail routes, yeah.
International airport,
exactly.
Costco, hospitals, access to the San Juans.
So I would definitely say Bellingham is one which I would be keeping an eye on. Tacoma as well, down
Sure.
maybe
Absolutely.
into Lewis County as well. They're not just but Pierce County, then obviously dropping south down to Thurston County and Lewis. We'll see. I think we'll see more activity occurring there, and I would argue that maybe not soon, but go out to the coast, Grays Harbor County, Clallam County. I think there are markets there which offer opportunity. It's going to have to be the right deal for anyone. But I think over time, and again, knowing the fact that there is no political will to change our growth management boundaries. So we know we have the urban growth boundaries where you can build, where you cannot. Expanding them is one way, but I just don't see that happening.
I'm excited about, the rebirth of some of these towns too. Like look at Port Gamble and their plans.
Yes.
I mean, it's accessible, it's going to be affordable, and it is absolutely bespoke, sense of living and community and legacy, really, and it's going to have a whole new chapter ahead.
There's no question about it. And they've been working on that for a very, very long time. coming to fruition, I'm sure, in the next few years, or starting to come into
that's right.
fruition. Yeah, we will see these nodes. And again, so you don't have to think of it as being just the individual larger cities, but smaller markets. Demographics will drive it, affordability will drive it. And so I'm really excited about where we will see our entire region, and indeed the entire state, move over the course of the next decade.
I agree with you, Matthew. As always, I appreciate your contributions. Those are the 10 top trends that we see influencing the housing market and our industry here at the midpoint of 2025, in the midpoint of this decade. As always, you can follow us on social media and stay tuned to future broadcasts with the Futurecast Forum. Matthew,
My friend,
always a pleasure.
Likewise.
Thank
take
you
care.
so much.